What about Mountain Hermeneutics? Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached, get this, our 100th episode. You hear that? There's dozens of
Yay.
fans rejoicing. Dozens. uh,
Might be a full
so
100.
it might be a full 100. Unfortunately, it comes on the heels of I mean, let's just face it, the cold-blooded murder of a public figure. But relevant to the show more than a political figure. And I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say this. He's probably more relevant as an evangelist. So if you want to stick around and hear us talk about that, keep it right here. You're listening to Mount Hermeneutics, where three Marines give their perspective on God, faith, and spirituality with a heavy lean on the divine council worldview. This is not your grandma's Sunday school, nor is it always for the Christian faint of heart. Nothing about who we are or what we say make us experts. But you better believe we'll have a take, and perhaps it won't suck.
You're comparing what we do to professional wrestling.
Yes,
In a manner of speaking, sure.
All right.
in that it's
I mean,
entertainment.
I
This
didn't know
is
that was-
this is religious entertainment radio.
When I used to lead the young adults Bible study at the church I was going to a few years ago,
Before you were unjustly removed and excommunicated.
yeah, that's the one. Thanks for bringing that up.
You brought it up. I was just clarifying.
Remember that Mount Hermeneutics is free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube if you want to watch the video. And you can find us simply by searching for Mount Hermeneutics. If you're new to the show, I'm Andre. That's Matt. That's Brian. Fellas, what is up?
There is
Hi.
certainly a time that I felt like episode 100 might be in question. And yet here we are.
Here we are. Here we are.
Was it in the last 2 weeks?
No.
Jeez.
No, it's probably in the first couple of weeks.
And for all our OGs, they're thinking the same thing. They're like,
Right.
I don't know how these fucking three clowns are still even friends, let alone doing a show together.
Nor I.
Right?
Lots of good
but-
tequila.
But we are, right?
Yeah, I actually talked to someone that is new to our show. That they said, poor Brian. It's like he's a mother with two rowdy boys.
But the key is someone who's new to the show.
Right, that's right.
I'm not sure how to take that actually.
I mean, I guess we're just irreverent, and you're so straight-laced. You're so evangelical.
I'm motherly, I guess.
Your mother. I mean, perhaps this individual watched the show and comment or send me
But-
another DM and she'll clarify. Oh,
but
I
I'm-
gave it away. It's a she.
But I'm so manly. Like, why
Yeah,
would
I
I be
mean-
motherly?
Because in the kingdom of heaven, there is no Jew nor Greek nor man
That's not-
nor woman.
That's not. I mean, I appreciate. I
That was off the
think
top of
I-
the dome piece. You gotta appreciate that.
I was waiting
I-
to see where that landed.
I think I appreciate what you're going for, but it's not really what that means. But
It means that you're all you're the
yeah, like I feel like affirmed at the same time emasculated. If that's at all possible.
I feel seen yet attacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
another way
know
to
how to
put it.
take this. So
Yeah.
I guess it's exhibit A of you mothering two rowdy guys. It's just this
And
is
the thing is, I was
par for the course.
I was your squad leader too.
Here we go. Which just means I was the enforcer of the squad. 'Cause-
Like I was the adult supervision when we were.
So here we are.
Which-
Here we're still there.
Right.
It's fine.
Which is-
Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
boy.
Well,
So
let's
so
not- let's
so
not dwell
so
on that.
lots has been going on. So if for those that are fans, it's been a couple of weeks since from 99 to 100. It wasn't by design. Real life stuff got in the way. People were traveling for work. We had stuff going on, home life stuff. So we just got caught up, and then we were wanting to get to 100, and then other real world stuff happened, and we were like, oh, do we want to make that our 100th episode? And like
Right.
we didn't want to hit the pause button for another week, and so like here we are. The intent
Yeah,
for for all the listeners, for the fans, was that we were going to do a kind of a recap and like how we got here and how we think we're doing, and what we intend to do. But we definitely didn't want to leave the current events unattached or unaddressed. So we're going to try to do a
but
little
it's
bit of
not.
both.
But it actually kind of works out to be all of those things. Like I think this is like square in our wheelhouse, for lack of a better.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, this is spiritual warfare playing out in and before our very eyes. I mean, I think that, like, I don't want to, I don't want to overstate it or be hyper, but I just the line that has been drawn between good and evil over the past week, um, by people's responses to this, I think it's if you didn't believe in evil before, I think it'd be hard to deny now. Um, just just the naked, brazen, wicked on display by people who think their virtues by it. Like that is a that is a that's a DCW thing. That's a spiritual warfare thing.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of things I never thought I would see. I thought never thought I would see uh, you know, a person on a college campus be killed like live and it be live streamed. I didn't think I would see so many people celebrate it. I then didn't think I would see so many people lose their jobs over it. um, and I certainly didn't think I would see the Vice President of the United States take over his show the following week, which JD Vance did today. And
From
then
the
I didn't
White House.
think, say again,
From the White House.
from the White House, yeah. I didn't see it. I was trying to stream it. I had to work, and then I caught that back second half of the show. So I don't know if you guys listened to it or saw it or whatever,
I
but
have not seen it yet, but I
he
plan to.
he had essentially signed off with the Lord's Prayer, which was also not on my bingo card, right? Like there's been a lot of things that have happened in the last, what is it now, 4 days, 5 days, um, that have been really interesting. Um, I had my brother and his wife, who have only attended our church when my kids were baptized. They show up for the family events. They just reached out. Were like, "Hey, can we come to church with you guys on Sunday?"
Oh wow.
My daughter Alyssa hasn't been to church except for special events in 5 years. She asked to come to church, so I had a whole pew full of my family at church on Sunday. So that was an unexpected. Uh, I hate to call it a benefit or but you obviously want to make the best of things. And then that turned into 2 hours plus sitting on my couch with my kids and my son-in-law, just talking about God. And I mean, the conversation was as wavy as this show, obviously, right? We
Sure.
we covered a lot of things,
That tracks.
but it was one of the best Sundays I've had in a very long time. I'd like to think that Charlie would smile, that his life meant that much, that people that he'd never seen, never touched, wouldn't have any idea. I'm not a Turning Point member. I've never donated. I'm gonna buy some of his hot sauce. He sells hot sauce on his through his merch page. I don't know that I'd wear his hoodie, but I'm gonna check out his hot sauce. Um, But yeah, it was just it was an interesting derivative. Yeah, so that was my weekend.
Yeah. Um, I don't have anything comparable to share as far as my weekend, but I would, I wouldn't have said I was a Charlie Kirk fan before. He was just kind of one among many conservative commentators that I whose content just shows up in my feed and I click on it from time to time. I didn't really make any effort to follow him. There are a few times that stand out where I didn't quite agree with him on something. It was usually something theological. Rarely was it anything political. Um, so I did like it's I was like a lot of people, I was puzzled by how devastating it was when I heard he was shot. Like I heard he was shot first, and then it was just like it didn't seem real. It was just surreal that like I just kind of he was just kind of in the background of the content that I consumed from YouTube and Rumble and stuff. Um, the I just kind of took him for granted. Um, then the idea of a Charlie Kirkless world just seems so perverse and bizarre. And then when it was confirmed that he was dead, it was just like I don't like it. It was puzzling how much that affected me, and I'm not sure I quite understand yet why, but apparently a lot of people feel that way.
People in South Korea feel that way.
Yeah, and I think it's certainly been compounded by the fact there was like on top that like there's a layer atop that of just the breathtaking evil that has erupted
Hmm.
in celebration over this, which is just a whole different level of heartbreak and devastation to see that. Um, but I think it would be sad, it would be heartbreaking anyway without that. But on top of that, um, but I do think like aptly enough, I do think this turning point for
I made that same comment about the name of his enterprise and the fact that it really has become a an event. Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely a shift in our cultural conversation, and I think uh, quite rightly there's a sudden intolerance on the right, and I think that's good. I think that we've been for a very long time, we've kind of let the other side get away with the most appalling and preposterous things, trying to maintain a level of politeness and
Hmm.
decorum. And like Trump kind of, I think he kind of changed that in a negative way, really, by his campaign. I think he was initially appealing to so many people because he was just so just
But
brusque.
turned off a lot of people in the middle,
Yeah.
It
right?
it did, and that's why I say negative thing. But now that the mask has come off, and they took it off so freely. They had every expectation of being celebrated. They thought they were virtue signaling by celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, and I think that has it's kind of it, the right is just kind of fed up with it. We're not going to tolerate that. Like I don't mean not tolerating it by responding in violence, but a conversational intolerance.
Yeah.
Like I think calling people out for their evil more. And I think that's a good thing. And I think it's
Well, even I've seen just anecdotally in my in my circles on social media, I'm seeing people that I didn't know were Christian or believers suddenly coming out of the woodwork. And it's a wild thing to see. A lot of people kind of treat social media as a, religious neutral kind of environment, right? Like, hey, let's keep this out of here. Let's just share memes and talk about my kid's birthday or whatever, right? But I'm seeing a lot of people that I know, not necessarily well, but like not just friends of friends, but people that I've interacted with and spoken to and had no idea that they were, of strong any kind of belief whatsoever. And suddenly I'm like, oh, wow. Didn't expect to see a Crusader cross on your webpage, on your
Who
profile.
knew? I 20 years older than Charlie Kirk,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of his content wasn't made for me.
Right.
He talks to kids, so a lot of times I would just check in on him, or he's in my podcast feed. So every once in a while I would click and say, "Hey, what's this topic today?" I'm like, I'm actually interested in what he has to say about that. Um, there's a lot of people who are influencers today in that sphere. Isabel Brown, newest to the Daily Wire. He was her mentor. She started at Turning Point. She said herself that she'd probably be a doctor right now if it wasn't for Charlie Kirk,
Wow.
because she met him. She was one of the Turning Point starters at her college when he came there. He introduced her to her husband, type thing. There would be no such thing as Candace Owens right now, and I think, um, probably over the last year, her content has been super snarky and anti-Israel and all these things that people just straight up they call her a bitch, right? Let's just say it. Um, Last week her content was not that.
Yeah.
She talked about her friend Charlie Kirk and dispelled any rumors that he was pro-Israel, she was anti, but she showed proof. Like, we talk daily still. Like, he's the reason I met my husband again. So, and it really struck me how many people that didn't just call him a friend, but like a close friend. Dan Bongino, Cash Patel, the Daily Wire crew, my friend Charlie Kirk, JD Vance, the vice president of the United States, is like, that dude's my friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
One of the other ones just on his show today, the JD Vance show, the Charlie Kirk show,
yeah.
when they had Bobby Kennedy on.
Okay.
And he talked about the fact that he wouldn't be part of the administration if it wasn't for Kirk. Kirk's the one that brokered the conversation between Trump and Bobby. Right?
I
Like,
mean,
that's pretty crazy.
dude was bigger than I think
Any of us realized.
certainly the opponents believed.
Yeah.
Right? They just thought he was dangerous rhetoric, which is actually, I think that's what strikes me the most. The fact that this dude had really, it was conservative, but normal
Mhm.
Yeah.
people takes.
Yeah.
Like, your neighbor thinks those
Mhm.
things. So the fact that they would flat out either one shrug, justify, or plain celebrate the fact that that dude was killed implicitly tells me that they want me dead as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the crazy part. So even, I had a couple of Facebook battles this weekend. I had a couple of posts and they became popular. Some of my favorite parts is people that I'm not even involved with fighting amongst each other, which is, I like when it gets spicy and I get the popcorn out. But
I like to think I helped with that. So
but there the people on my feed, especially people that comment on my feed, are people I know,
Right.
people I grew up with, people I served, with, people I deployed and served in a combat zone
Mhm.
with. These are people that I would say I know. I would say, and many of them I would call friends today. In fact, I had a couple of comments like, "Hey, you're my friend." They do. What are you doing? Um, to think that for me sharing a view with a man that got shot in front of the world in fucking 4K, that they would believe, my friends would shrug their shoulders if I said the same thing. And on this show, I have said many of the same things, and I will continue to say many of the same things. And I'm not going to say that our show has the reach of even the ridge of Charlie Kirk's fingernail, but
Not yet.
not right. So if that made you mad, I, I say stand by.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing, like this idea that Charlie Kirk was an extremist or that he would like that reveals so much about the left, really. Like this isn't he's not an extremist. This is all pretty standard conservative Christian boilerplate stuff that like most of us
He's
believe.
very center road,
Yeah.
Really,
Um,
and polite.
yeah.
way more
But the
polite than most Christians would be about these same topics.
Yes.
but the fact that they think he's an extremist, and that so much so that they call him a fascist and a racist and say he had it coming because of that, that tells that that exposes so much about them. They have never taken the time. It's not to find out what conservatives believe and why we believe it. And it's not even I first noticed this trend a few years ago, and it's just kind of been reinforced ever since, never more so than the past week. But several years ago, Paul Ryan tweeted out some bromide about how Jesus is the reason for the season. And Rosie O'Donnell responded with this tirade calling him a hypocrite because he obviously doesn't follow Jesus because Jesus loved poor people, and Paul Ryan wouldn't have voted for the Trump tax plan if he shared Jesus' love of poor people. And it struck
I,
me in that
Jesus was all about taxes.
yeah
Jeez.
it struck me in that moment that for her accusation to land, and this is a pretty like basic leftist accusation of the conservatives, for her accusation to what that means is that she presupposes that Paul Ryan agrees with her that Trump's tax plan is bad for poor people, and that's why he voted for it because he doesn't care because he knows it's going to hurt poor people, and he's wants and he doesn't care. It just never occurred to her that maybe Paul Ryan doesn't have her deep insight into Jesus's teachings or her crack expertise in macroeconomics and public finance and social welfare programs. He's just not as enlightened as her. Like it never occurred to her that he actually believes this is good. um, she just assumes that it's her position is obvious. It's not that she never took the time to find out what the other side believes. She doesn't even know there is another side. And that's kind of that's a pretty common disposition among the left. Like they just kind of sleepwalk through life with this the unflinching conviction that their every fleeting thought and feeling and attitude is just absolute righteousness, and so anything that challenge it must be evil, and they don't give any real thought to, and that's kind of the beauty of what Charlie Kirk did. Like people kind of brought that mentality to him and thought they would just be able to throw out, hey, you're a racist, you're a bigot,
Yeah,
and then
I think some of that I mean you're not wrong on any of it, but I think there's another layer. I think at some level you're right. They haven't taken the time to understand our position or to understand why we think the way they do.
or even that there is another position.
But I think at some level it's an intentional attempt to manually shift the Overton window, right? Like they've sat down and said, "Hey, if we continue to call them fascists and they don't challenge us, over time it just becomes truth." Right? Like there's a lot of people that if you say I'm Republican, that equals racist.
Right.
Like there are people,
Well,
there's a lot of people that is just their logic chain. They're like Republicans are racist. That's just the way it is.
Which is why I'm an apostate.
Right.
well, I think that's certainly true of some activists. but I think the Rosie O'Donnells of the world are the product of their work.
You don't think she's an
We-
operative? I think she
I
is.
don't I don't think she has
Nah,
the
I don't think she's smart enough.
I don't think she has the introspection
She could be a
And
useful idiot
and wait a minute.
as
well,
an
but that's
operative.
Did I
but
say that
that's
about a white person? So
but that's
clearly,
but that's exactly what I mean. They're useful idiots.
Yeah.
Like they believe what they're doing,
But
but
my
it's
point is
only
there's operatives that are driving this narrative.
yeah,
That
I
are
absolutely
making the puppets dance, and they're doing this
but
with a
but I but
purposeful
I but
plan.
I also think that the both sides argument is something that people truly believe. So and I say this like when you talk about an echo chamber and just screaming into the void, people think that there's a right echo chamber.
Right.
It's
well,
impossible. No, let me finish this thought. It's impossible to have a right echo chamber because if you have a television, if you have a phone, if you go to the movies, if you go anywhere in society, if you watch the news, including Fox News, you are getting either a center or a left position in every single form of media. But you can grow up somewhere in the suburbs and have two blue blood Democrat parents. You can grow up and you can go to school and get indoctrinated into this thing. You can go to college and get it reinforced. You can be on Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook, and then you still watch TV. You consume all the news from NBC to ABC to CBS. And then when you see a piece of content that comes in from the other side, you think those guys are extremists. Well, yeah, you think they're extremists because it's a viewpoint that's not even, as Brian was saying, it's not even on your radar.
yeah, I
But if you
think
grow up on the right side, you can't do that because
yeah,
I went to public school, so it's impossible to do that. I had every single liberal teacher other than my economics teacher. I had every, I take college classes. Boom. Go even in the military.
yeah,
I mean,
I
especially
think
linguists,
that's
they all go native. All
I
my
think
linguist
that's
friends, you know it's true.
yeah, I think that's mostly true. I agree with you that the left position is kind of the default setting on the culture, unless there's another influence. Like we can't turn on Netflix or watch TV without being exposed to some
Right,
kind of
right.
leftist indoctrination. Um, and yeah, but I do think that you know
If there is a
the
right echo chamber, it's pretty freaking fringe.
well, I think that the right does have an echo
Fringe or
chamber.
French?
Flat
I
earthing.
I think that now this I want to
Are there left
clarify.
flat earthers?
Um,
I don't know.
I don't know, but
It's,
I want to
that's just a thought I had.
clarify. I want to clarify um, that when I say what I'm about to say about it's true of both sides. I'm not don't think that I'm reinforcing the narrative that we're hearing about how there's equal violence on both
Firing
sides.
squad. Right.
Um, we've been hearing that a lot, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it. It boils my blood, especially when I hear Republicans say, "Oh, there's violent rhetoric on both sides, and there's violence on both sides." There is not. We're going to get into that, but I do think that there is indoctrination on both sides. I mean, I think that most people, I think humans are not by default rational. I think most people are on both sides of the aisle are conditioned into a set of attitudes by their social environment, and then they affix ideas and ideologies to give voice to those attitudes, and then we use our rational faculties as a post hoc justification of the attitudes that we had, but that we came by other than rational means. People on the right, though, have the benefit of having been indoctrinated into an ideology that largely maps to reality. So when they're challenged on it and they have to go find evidence and arguments to support it, it's a lot easier to do that. You don't have to be willfully intellectually dishonest in order to retain your indoctrination if you're on the right. I think you do have to lie to yourself quite a bit to stay on the left to maintain your indoctrination.
Mm.
And so, which is why, like, I think that there are a lot of people who are indoctrinated into Christianity, for instance, who aren't necessarily genuinely Christians. They're not standing on the immovable rock that is God himself, having been born again and having learned that these things are true through reason and evidence.
Yeah,
I
they're
think
called
that
Catholics.
among other people, I mean, Catholics certainly don't have a monopoly on that. So I don't want it to make it sound like the left has a monopoly on indoctrination. I think it's pretty it's both sides have it, but the left gets indoctrinated into what's
I mean,
essentially evil.
I
And
think that's fair. I think that I think it's impossible not to be indoctrinated by the left.
I totally agree.
Impossible. Like it's every part of, and most of it, I think the reason why I'm right, correct, and also right is just because is my rebellious nature as a young person. I was told I'm black. You got to do these things. I'm like, do I? And it was me at first just being like, no, I don't. So, you know, yeah, I mean, my mother voted for Jimmy Carter, for crying out loud. I know, I just dimed you out, mom. So, and the funny thing is she voted for Jimmy Carter after he conceded, but you know, it's a funny story.
so she voted for him for the
She got off
second
work
term.
late. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She she anti-Reaganed.
If her vote had counted, he might not have conceded.
She was just too late. She shouldn't have stayed at her shift that long. And that's the
Man,
problem with being from California, right? It's late. We're on the west, we're on the left coast. Uh, but yeah, I grew up in Southern California. Like, there's no reason why I'm right wing. Being a minority in Southern California is a miracle that I just, and I
I
think it was also personalities. Like, if you asked the 17-year-old Andre in the 1992 election, why won't you vote for Bill Clinton if you were eligible? My answer would have been like, I don't like him. There's just something about his face.
hmm.
Don't like him. Don't
which
like
is
his
which
accent.
is why 17-year-olds shouldn't be allowed to vote.
It's exactly why. It's exactly why. I'm like, nah.
I don't think 25-year-olds should be allowed to vote.
Yeah. Although I've actually heard my wife make those exact same statements in local elections. She's
I
like,
don't
I'm
like.
not voting for him. I can't stand that guy. And I'm like, what did he
I,
do? She's like, I hate his face. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I don't like her plastic surgery.
Yeah. But she's actually met the person. She's like, I've been in a room with him and I don't like him. And I'm like, well, that's different. I mean, you get a different vibe on a person when you're actually in their presence
What's
versus.
interesting about Bill Clinton is when I was in his presence and I shook his hand and I looked in his face, I was like, ah, I get it.
You're like, I would have voted for you.
I mean, I wouldn't have, but I get it. I get,
Right.
like I don't know what charisma means, but that dude has it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
He always had
dude,
that rap.
yes, he
That's what he got for his soul from selling it to the devil.
or it's from all that
like
adrenochrome.
if he locks eyes with you, I can't shake loose.
Would you like to come in?
You're in the tractor beam. It's over. You're done.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a wild thing. And I think that is specifically what's changing right this second though. Like all the things you guys were just talking about. Like if what we see continues with any kind of seriousness, what's happened in the last 4 or 5 days, if this continues, American society and culture is making a statement, right? That, hey, we're done being quiet. We're done being permissive. We're done being passive. Uh, we're taking back this space, and we're doing it with a loud no, right? It's not like,
right.
how about we just stop? They're like, no, we're done, out of the way. Like grown folks are talking now, and it's refreshing. It's interesting. Brian, I know you want to talk about the violence and that part of it, but one of the things that strikes me, and I know we said it in our offline conversation, whatever. It's hilarious how much the left has gaslit the right about being violent, right? Like all the guns that we have and all of the ability that we have to use the guns. And there's essentially materially no violence from the right in the political space. I think there was one
or really
event
at all.
with a congressperson that was like 10 years ago or something like that. There was one event, and I never
Wait,
even
from the right?
yeah,
Are you talking about when Steve Scalise was shot?
no,
No.
Because that was a
no,
Bernie bro.
no, the female. There was a woman that was it seemed to be a
Are
political
are
assassination,
you
and it
talking about Gabby Gifford?
no,
The recent one in Minnesota?
no, not that one
Yeah.
either. It was
Okay.
the one in
Yeah.
between those. So in
Right.
between
Yeah.
those, there was a person, their dog, and their husband that was shot. And then apparently the guy had a list of other people he was going to shoot, and they were all liberal lawmakers and legislators and elected officials. Anyway,
That's interesting. I didn't
it's
see
a
any
it's a
celebrations.
one-off. Yeah,
I didn't see anybody dancing or pissing on their graves.
right. And
I
it,
didn't
and it
see
was
anybody.
essentially untalked about because nobody really understood what was going on,
Right.
and there
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of fanfare about it.
And I'm sure if you took a poll, like everyone would be like, "Fry his ass."
Right.
But I'm
Like
but
that's a
I'm su-
terrible
I'm
thing.
surprised something like that happened and the media didn't run with it. I'm surprised they haven't made the shooter a household name.
Yeah, no, it,
Which
it, it all went away, which makes you wonder, like, what really was happening. And it doesn't, the point is, it doesn't matter. The point is that, of all of the events that have happened that the left was so unhappy about, riots ensued. We could name 10 different events in the last decade that have resulted in riots from the left in their cities, and all around the country.
St. George, the patron saint of fentanyl.
Yeah, like all of
Uh,
those things, and none of the events when the right is unhappy do riots happen. The only thing that's happened that was close to a riot was Jan 6, and the funny thing about Jan 6, funny thing, the interesting anecdote or footnote to that is essentially everybody, all serious people in the right, were like, "Oh no, that was a bad idea." Right? Like nobody was like, "Yeah, we should have taken more of the capital and
Nobody.
held on to it." Like nobody had those thoughts. Everybody was like, "Oh, that
I
was a bad idea."
I can think of one person I knew who was just like, yes, this, finally with a right standing up. And I'm like, dude, are you an idiot? And he was immediately like, yeah, I guess I am,
Yeah,
and backed off. And
yeah,
like,
We all are, buddy. We all are.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, most
repent.
people on the right, the vast majority of people on the right, except for that one guy I can think of, and maybe a couple other outliers, were appalled at January 6th.
Mhm,
Um, but yeah, that the fact that that's their go-to, that
mhm,
like right before we started, somebody on Facebook made that remark, made that comparison, because I had commented about this whole both sides thing, about how absolutely blood-boilingly ludicrous it is when people say that. It's such a preposterous, malicious lie. Um, somebody popped off with, what about January 6th and the Proud Boys? Um, Nobody died on January 6th except for Ashley Babbitt.
mhm.
Um,
An unarmed white woman that was killed by a black law enforcement officer.
right. Um, and there's not a single violent incident that you could name that the Proud Boys were responsible for. Now, somebody might be inclined to check on that, and you'll find that all of their violence that the left won't shut up about, it's fighting with Antifa.
Hmm.
Antifa would go to burn down cities, and the Proud Boys would show up to stop them, and then the Proud Boys get blamed for violence. Um, it's that kind of stuff, and it's like I can't. At some point, like, I always point out to them, like, look, your own examples prove that that's a lie. Like you don't really believe that, do you? Like, I mean, because during the St. George riots, plenty of people died, billions in property damage. They just ignore that
Mhm.
because they think it's justified, because they
Well,
think it was
Hey,
good.
MAGA hat over here.
yeah. Well, and that
Yeah.
goes back to my point about, pushing the Overton window purposefully, right? The left has created this narrative that they get to decide what is right and wrong. And if you're on the wrong side of them, they get to use words like Nazi and fascist, which then make it seem like it's just okay to use violence. Like
Right.
that's the progression that they've built.
You punch a
And
Nazi, right?
and the right has just kind of abdicated that space. We've abdicated the high road
Yeah.
because I think at some level, one, we're trying to stay out of the violent space because we're actually a lot better at violence than they are. And if we
Bro,
were to decide to become violent, it would be a really different place. And that's not a threat. This isn't, we're not condoning it. We're saying we don't want that. And that's,
Yeah.
and that's what all of the serious, mature right-wing leaders are saying. Now, JD Vance said some pretty strong things today. He talked about, there is no more reconciliation and getting along with people that want to do violence on us. And I think he's right. Like
Yeah.
we can't just be like, oh, you're right. We'll just get along until you incite violence against us again. The answer is not more violence, but the answer is an abject revocation of the left's charter or their whatever
The moral
empowerment
authority,
they think they have. Yeah, moral
the
authority.
moral authority that they arrogate to themselves
Mhm.
is now gone.
Yeah.
I think
But
I think
but
where I'm at is that you can no longer allow them in your space.
Yeah.
For example, if I have some, I don't know, 1776 t-shirt on and somebody comes up and screams in my face, I'm attacking them immediately because I can't trust that something's not going to
Yeah.
happen to me.
the
And
thing
I
is,
can't just and I can't be like, I'm taking the high road because
Right.
I'm nonviolent. You stepping into my space is a threat to me and my family and my little dog too, right?
yeah,
So to me, anybody
Was that a
that
Wizard of Oz reference?
it was.
Okay.
So, and and if somebody looks like they're going to throw something at you, if you're driving down the road and there's a mob, I'm running you the freak over.
Oh, that's been
I mean, well,
that's been locked in my front.
actually, we had the riots in downtown Oceanside. Not really riot, but we had mobs of people, and Delani actually couldn't drive down the road, and I was like, "Hey, run them over."
Hmm.
yeah,
I'd rather
yeah,
deal with whatever legal repercussions than you being pulled out of my car and
whatever
killed.
they call that, that is an act of violence.
Yes.
And the
So
right doesn't do that. The right
so
just doesn't do that.
anytime somebody's gonna scream in my face from now on, like game on. There's no more like, hey, I'm bigger than that because I can't afford that. Now that somebody has been shot on a college campus, I can't even say they're kids,
With
right?
paid
Like,
security, by the way.
yeah, there's a lot of questions.
Charlie Kirk my
I
point is Charlie Kirk didn't just show up by himself. He had a
right.
team. He had
Yes.
professional security. You can see a security guy
Yes.
in the background the day he was shot. Like they're back there
Right.
talking. They
Yeah.
were, I mean, they're not Secret Service, but
Right.
they're serious individuals.
And I worked in the security space all weekend. So I worked a Midland concert country band. Forgive me, never heard of them before, but their stuff was pretty good. And I'm working a Pantheon convention this weekend in Anaheim. But the whole time I'm thinking like these things because it's in the wake of that. And
Mhm.
it's interesting was when I showed up to the casino where they're having the concert at the outdoor venue outside the casino. Um, the first thing mentioned because it's San Diego. Like, hey, this is a country music concert, and country music is more political, which is an interesting thing to say to
It's
me
not.
because it's not more political than fucking Green Day or any punk
Mm-mm.
rock band or any,
Mhm.
but it's political rhetoric that raises
Well,
antenna, right? So
if it's not explicitly a part of leftist culture,
right.
it's considered conservative.
So, but of course, normally at that casino for a country band that is not platinum, right? Like we had people on the roofs. You know, we had
Yeah.
we had things and where we were explicitly told to never even use pronouns when dealing with people. Just, say folks or right this way or if I can get your attention.
Hmm.
Like just the things
That
to squelch anything that we as
that
security can be liable for.
infuriates me because we
So
like we have to just reorder society to
right. So
stop
these are
from
these are the observances I
triggering
had
these.
just in the
Yeah.
in the in the in the briefs. I'm like, wow.
But
Wow.
to Matt's point about the deliberate moving of the Overton window, I don't think it's necessarily deliberate. I think again, I think maybe there are certain activists who are doing that, but I think for the general population, I think the
Oh, I don't think the
Overton,
general population even knows what the Overton window is. I agree with you there. But my point is the people that are pulling the strings are purposefully moving the window. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's much more, I mean, maybe those people are there, but I think it's much more explainable by the character defects that arise from Christianity being in
Godlessness.
decline. What's that?
Godlessness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
godlessness, if you reject God, either explicitly or tacitly by just not taking him seriously, that this isn't like a progression over time, but it's a logical progression. It's just what happens to the human psyche. Godlessness leads to moral relativism. Like there's no longer any higher authority to whom you are accountable. It's all relative. Everybody's opinion is valid, as somebody we know would always say. Said recently, and it set me off. But moral relativism leads to what could be called moral solipsism. Solipsism is the belief that nothing exists outside of your own mind. Like, how do I know that you're not just figments of my dream and I'm just the only thing that exists? Moral solipsism is this notion that you are the center of the moral universe. And godlessness and moral relativism kind of inevitably lead there. Um, it doesn't turn everybody into a demon, but it does make them a slave to their indoctrination. Like whatever their cultural context is, whatever their tribe tells them is right, that's what they believe is right. Um, because there's no higher authority to reference. And that's why you get people who can believe insane things and think of that as the pinnacle of morality, because by their criterion of morality, it is. If you're not accountable to anybody for what you believe or what you value, and you adopt a belief system wherein a man is a woman if he thinks he is, um, people who attack that they're the embodiment of evil according to your moral system. And this you know this land of moral confusion that we live in, it is the predictable result of abandoning God. Um, and ultimately, I mean, I think churches need to do a far better job of explaining God's relationship to morality. It should seem like it's kind of obvious to Christians, but I don't know that most Christians are are particularly good at articulating it. Um, Much less to make the case to outsiders. But morality is our basic operating system. Like we can't, like, it governs our every human interaction and our self-image. We all have to think of ourselves as good people. But if you are a moral solipsis, you think that you're sinless. You think that you think you are the measure of what is good. And so you have all these people who kind of get trapped in their own kind of moral black hole, and there's no penetrating it. Which is kind of the definition of hell. I mean, if hell is to be shut out from God's presence, if you are so convinced of your own righteousness, and you don't understand that you are a depraved sinner in desperate need of God's grace and God's life in you to redeem your fallen nature. If you don't understand that, you're doomed in the future, but you're also kind of doomed in the moment, because there's no reaching you. There's no getting through to you to show you why you're wrong. Um, because you've already arrived. You're already the measure of ultimate goodness. So you just shut out and dismiss as evil and racist whatever doesn't match up to that. And that's how you get a madman with a rifle who has to kill a good man because his out of loyalty to his tranny boyfriend, and whatever else that guy believed. But
Good thing we don't have a big following on YouTube.
yeah, yeah. If we were monetized, we wouldn't be anymore. But
So
Yeah.
what do we do about it?
I think it's working itself out. I think
I don't.
I think Charlie Kirk was turned out to be a bigger part of this than he intended or thought he ever would. Right? Like this was what Charlie was working towards. That's the cool thing about this, right? Like if there's any justice in this, if there's any poetry in the pain, it's that the trending, I am Charlie Kirk, we're Charlie Kirk is exactly working in the against what Brian was just talking about. Like, I mean, is it going to address it point by point? And is it systemic and systematic? No, but it's the
Right.
start. It's the turning point.
I think. I think it's a start. I want to, and I'm just going to say one quick thing, Dre, and then I'm done. Um, I don't think it's going to work itself out automatically. I think this is a major step toward that,
Yeah.
but it doesn't get us there.
No, I
Yeah,
agree.
I
That's
think,
what I was
well,
saying.
yeah, of course. I think it's a big miscalculation on the left. And it goes back to the echo chambers, right? So the difference, and this is in the meme world, this is in the just the normal discourse, this is opinions on social media. We live in a leftist world, so we understand them. They have no idea what we actually think
Yeah.
or how we actually operate. So a lot of memes don't make sense. Like they laugh in their circle, but we're like that doesn't okay. And I think that they don't. I mean, if you were to ask somebody, they don't know who the heck this dude is. They Nobody can tell you he's actually an evangelist.
Mm-mm.
I mean, they could like, oh yeah, he talks about God. Got it. But so do all Republicans, all right-siders talk about God because that's what they are. That's who they are. That's what they do. But I don't think they understand the impact. And even more important, and this is what I was getting at the beginning when I said I was 20 years old and he wasn't talking to me. He's talking to young people.
Right. Right.
And I think that's what made him the most dangerous.
Well, that's because that's who they go after, right?
Correct. You
That's
went
why
into our sanctum and you're converting these. The fact that Gavin Newsom's 13-year-old son was geeked that
That is
Charlie
awesome.
Kirk was going to be on his show.
Mhm.
My heart sang when I heard
And
that.
it was funny. He's like, so you came out of school? He's like, no, I don't keep out. I said, why not? You came out for 2 years. Like, why would you?
Yeah.
It was, it was just like my
Yeah, that was
favorite
great.
quick comeback. So, and the fact that Gavin Newsom's daughter, who attends USC, like, oh, Charlie Kirk was at the school, was at the campus.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't, and there's all
And
these
and the fact
these
that Gavin
trads,
Newsom felt the need to court his favor in order to
right?
position himself to run for president says a whole lot itself.
Mm-hmm.
And with all of these, what we call them, like black-pilled Republicans that were or conservatives that were talking about marriage as a scam, and
Mm-hmm.
the Pearl Davises of the world. We had a whole episode on that with Andrew Tate and the like. Um, Charlie Kirk was exactly the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's young people that want to get married again.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's young people that want to have babies again. There are young people that want to have an established piece of family. And that that the family structure is probably the biggest contribution that a young man could have,
Yeah.
and to actually have teenagers and people in their early 20s, just Gen Z period, taking that kind of a right shift is is a sight to behold. And that's where the future is, because the leftists are killing their babies while other people are getting married and having their babies. And
Yeah.
then, that window is bound to shift. And the fact that so many people with no following, even less than us, right, are saying like, oh, I never spoke out because I didn't want to be canceled. Now they're like, no, I'm
Hmm.
doing it. I'm saying it.
Yeah.
This dude inspired me to open my mouth.
Well, and then there's the other side of the coin, right? And the leftists, to your point, they didn't really know who Charlie was. They heard the sound bites. They heard what they were supposed to know about him.
Right.
And they're like, "Oh, he's an extremist." Well, this guy tweeted yesterday that he was coming out of retirement named Milo.
You want to get extremists.
If y'all think Charlie was difficult and combative and aggressive, hold on to your seats. Now, in no way am I endorsing Milo. Am I championing him or anything that he's going to say or do? Because the guy's genuinely unhinged.
But he's not dumb.
But he is what you thought Charlie Kirk was. And this is,
It's
and you're about to get what you actually
Mm,
asked for.
I don't think
I,
he's.
I think Nick Fuentes is what they act like
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk
Well,
is.
okay, he's
I'm
the
not.
worst of what they thought Charlie Kirk was, but
Mhm.
Milo is what they talked about Charlie on the average. Like middle ground Charlie, they thought was Milo, and then they thought extreme Charlie was Nick.
Right. Sure.
But fair point. But the point is like if y'all thought that Charlie had spicy videos and like had some takes that were like, wow, I can't believe he said that. Just wait.
Yeah,
Especially now
and
that he won't be kicked off Twitter.
Charlie never insulted anybody.
Correct.
He
That's our
would
point, Brian.
he would kind of laugh at stuff and like get people to see how ridiculous what they
Hmm.
just said
It was
was.
always a self-own kind of thing. He's like, you
Yeah,
realize what you just said, right?
yeah. Milo will nuke you. Like he
Yeah,
will
but yeah. What I think
like
what's funny though is we say that about Charlie, but for some reason, uh, those young Turks really got to him.
Yeah.
Like the only time you see him ever yelling was at Cenk Uygur
Yeah.
or
and
Hassan Piker. Like
I, I I want to point out the main distinction here.
yeah,
Charlie Kirk, like if you could be the most feral, rabid, blue-haired, metal in your face, weirdo leftist saying the most hateful things, Charlie Kirk loved you. And I think that came through. He really he loved the people he talked to and
the
he
Whatever podcast was a really big
It was a
yeah.
indicator
really
of
good
that.
one. Yeah.
Milo does not
Will
love
nuke you. He does not love you.
Yeah, Milo doesn't even
He doesn't even
like
love
you.
himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of y'all that are like, who's Milo? Go look him up.
Yeah, I don't think no, don't do it. Just let it happen. Just let it play out. I don't want to ruin the surprise.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And it's one of those, Milo's gonna be not the hero we wanted, but the hero we deserved kind of thing.
I
He's
think
gonna
that's does that
this
make him Batman or Harvey Dent?
He's man, he's he's also a converted leftist.
right. He knows their playbook.
Yeah.
He's former gay.
Yeah.
Like he's
Is he
lived
not
in that
is he not
circle.
gay anymore?
I don't know.
I don't think he is. I
I
think
don't think he is either.
he likes women's,
He,
women's, women's.
Huh.
gay no more. It's the silliest clip in the history of clips.
I might have to splice it in.
Like, every time I say, I'm like, this is so absurd. Yes, you are, but
Right.
just shut up about it. This.
Yeah, but it's the space is gonna change, and I think the next year or two is gonna be
Huh.
really telling. Um,
So I asked ChatGPT, is Milo Yiannopoulos still gay? It's about what you expect.
Yeah. So
well, in fairness, Milo's been out of the public view for so long, we don't really know a lot about Milo today.
He's
Well,
popped in on Tim Pool a couple of times, and
Was
then
he?
he's part of Yeezy's little campaign for a minute,
Was
and
he?
then him and Nick Fuentes had a falling out.
Because Nick was too far right.
I think so. Yeah. Like,
I don't know that Nick is far right.
I
I don't.
mean, I
Nick's a racist. That's what Nick
I mean
Fuentes
that's what
is.
yeah that's
But he's also
and he's also a Christian white nationalist.
he's a white Christian nationalist.
He's all those things.
Yeah, but I don't like. I think
He's
that
all the evil things that we
I
think that
think
all of us are.
I think that to thereby define him as far right sort of concedes to the left that
No,
right
I actually agree
means
with this.
He's the
yeah,
worst of the right. How about we say it that way?
that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it kind of concedes their characterization of the right as okay, well, you're not fully racist, but you're kind of racist. You're
That's
going
fair.
in the direction of
That's a good
racism.
catch.
Well, no, it's got
yeah,
nothing. It's got like, you can have leftists. The left is far more racist than we are.
right, right.
That's fair.
They're just too sanctimonious to notice it about themselves. But yeah,
So we've been doing this show for 2 years now, 2 years plus, 100 episodes once a week, right?
yeah.
Hmm.
What
What have we accomplished?
what if I mean I don't know what we've accomplished. I know what I've accomplished for me, and
Sure.
I guess that's the place to
Yeah.
start. Like um if you followed us from week one, you know, views shift. And that's what's funny too. People are like, do you believe this? I'm like, do I? I'm like, watch my show. So,
Right.
yeah, once upon a time I did believe that. Now I believe this. And maybe I'll go back. But I think that just the simple fact of having a topic for a week or a day or 10 minutes before we start the show is is enough to get me to crack a Bible or to crack a church father or to crack a philosopher or somebody who was anti what we're talking about
Hmm.
and really learn the things. I think to have my own ideas be challenged by friends or by rando
With
dude on the
LOVE
internet.
love.
Yeah, yeah, it is a positive all the way around. Even if for a minute it hurts my tummy, right? Like it, it's it's all good. So if my show never reaches anybody other than my mother, who I know it will reach, then I'm still winning. And I think I'm pretty grateful for that. I'm pretty grateful that well, one, I have an appointment to hang out with my friends for a couple of hours once a week, regardless of what we talked about on our other chats or other friends. This is just a thing that um just all the way around it's a blessing. Just I mean, there's nothing else I can call it than a blessing to spend time with people that are dear and it's caused me to have trips out here and um just talk about subjects that if you would ask me 20 years ago, would you ever talk about this topic? I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what that is. I don't know what that means. um but to have a take and to hope that people don't think it sucks. I think that's uh
I
2 years
understood.
worth of
I understood that reference.
2 years worth of some kind of research
Yeah.
is a positive all the way around. And then you look
You
at
you
you look
basically
at
got a
things
degree now.
you look at things completely different, right? Like I just a quick example. I was working a concert in security and just observing people. And you can tell people that were there to have a good time or had some kind of preconceived notion or a baseline of what they thought about other people or somebody that accidentally bumps into you and a fight breaks out. Like you could see that most of the people had grace or gave grace. and some just did not. And I'm just thinking, what if that's your baseline? If you can subconsciously program yourself to offer grace in every single situation, at least to a point, right? Until somebody spits in your face and because you're a fascist. But how much more peaceful would the world
What if he
be?
calls your mom a whore? Well, is
Is
she?
she? Yeah. So and that's just what I noticed. And it's funny because the biggest fight that I had to break up was two women fighting. And of
Of
course
course
these
it
women are
was.
fighting, which
And the
gets their
guys
men.
are like, ugh,
Now the men are involved, and then they're trying to pull the women off, but then they're yelling at each other. And it's interesting because my role is not to put hands on people. There's
right,
people with badges and guns that do that. I'm an event staff. I'm there to
right,
help.
right.
So I'm looking around. I'm like, is anybody gonna? Fine. I had to put my hands on a man and yell in his face, and then all of a sudden he got super tame. It was weird.
It's funny how
he
that
was
works.
he was super angry, and then I yelled at him, and he's like, I no longer want to yell at people anymore. I'm like, well, what are we doing? Let's go. But yeah, but it just spoke to me. There's lots of observations that I make. I have a different worldview, uh, mostly because of this show. How I treat my
Huh.
own children, how I see my family, how I see strangers, how I look at the ocean every day because I live next to the fucking ocean. I can see it every day. I just have a different no shit worldview. Even if I forget it for 10 minutes and I'm an asshole for a minute or I'm angry, it's easy to just come back and remember. I just feel like the more we see each other as kindred, the more kind we will be to each other. And that's really my biggest takeaway from doing the show for the last 2 years.
Hmm.
It's fundamentally from the bottom rebuilt me. And it's a blessing. That's it.
That roll credits. Like I don't know what else to say. Like that's dope. I
I think it's like we have to say what the show means to us now.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go quicker.
I
Little bit
I
similar but
appreciate you
different.
saying that,
Yeah, I
Dredge.
do too. By the way, I don't want to like I don't want
I
that
don't want to
turning.
just run past that. And
No,
I
it's
like
yeah.
I know that
I
was
think it's been a group effort, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't one of us. It was all of us. I like to lean on one of my 3 4 favorite Bible verses, and iron sharpens iron. And I think that that's part of why we're drawn to these kinds of conversations because while we've had some of the negative comments we've had on the show are like, oh, you're just three, conservatives, stroking each other about whatever. Like we so rarely agree.
that's like one guy's comment on
Well,
there
it's
though.
been a couple. It's been a couple of them, but like the thing is we so rarely agree,
Like, do you watch the show?
right? Um, I think it's been. I don't. I what I've enjoyed about it is it's caused me to be more serious about the way that I handle and treat God. And I don't mean God like literally, but like in the
The
second hand, the way that I
the things of God.
yeah, like I obviously had, ideas and thoughts and the things that led us to do the show, right? For those that didn't catch the first couple of episodes, for me, this all started while I was sitting on a mid shift at the National Security Agency and I was thumbing through a Bible, just because I was bored one night and they wouldn't tell us we couldn't read religious literature. Right. So I had a Bible and I was flipping through it and I got as far as Genesis 6. And I was like, what? Angels had sex with women and had giants that were like Hercules? Like, what the hell is going on here? And that's like that moment in 1995 in the late 1900s is what caused me to want to do this show. And then the other two guys on the show kind of intersected things between here and there. Um, and then an interesting thing happened. My pastor this Sunday, not intentionally, it had nothing to do with the Charlie Kirk situation. It was part of a planned series. We're doing James, the book of James,
Mm.
a 10-week series on that. So we talked about James 1, which is, uh, there's a lot of conversation about philosophy and stoicism. I would argue that James was the first Stoic based on his writing style and the things he talks about, right? So James 1, the opening of the book of James is essentially him saying, be thankful for trials because it makes you a better Christian. Like that's, I mean, he doesn't say it in that simply, but that's essentially the takeaway. He's saying like he doesn't say if it's going to be bad. He says it's going to be bad. So when it is, like lean on your faith and it will be better afterwards because you'll learn how to reconcile this with that. Um, and it seemed wildly apropos to the goings on right now in the world, in the US, etc. But I think it also relates to this show in that, this show is a trial every time we do it to a certain degree, right? Like we get into some pretty interesting conversations that are uncomfortable. We have some less than pleasant exchanges about it. And the goal is to come out of the other side
Matt,
in
you
a
and your
better
slut.
place. Yeah. But like Dre said, we said this in our first episode, one of our main goals is if this could cause you to go, wait, what? What? No way. You go pull the Bible out and, check what we said or prove us wrong or have a different take or, learn something else. That's kind of the point. Um, my my daughter, we're at dinner Friday night, Friday night, and my daughter asked me. She says, "Have you ever thought about being a preacher?" And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "You just, your show and the topics and the way you talk about things, and you seem so interested, and you seem to really care, and the stuff matters." And I said, well, it should matter to you also. And I said, well, and kind of like, Brian, we said about Dre, I said, hey, look, what you're saying to me is not lost on me. And I appreciate well, and when she said it, my son-in-law and my son and Carrie at the table all said, yeah, you should. And I'm like, what? Are y'all all insane? I'm like, first of all, no. And I was like, and my daughter, she's my daughter. She's like, why not? And she's like, what if this is your
I wonder
calling?
where she got that from.
Yeah. And I said, look, let's take biblical interpretation and storytelling off the table. I said, a pastor is expected to like care when their people are in the hospital and they're having marital problems. And everybody at the table goes, oh yeah, you probably shouldn't be asked to do that kind of stuff. And so I
Yeah,
said,
I have
maybe,
thoughts on that, but I don't
I
want to
said,
interrupt your.
I'll just keep it at the podcast level. And if I can bring people to get church curious, then I can hand them off to real certified, qualified pastors. And then we can make this like, I'll be a gateway drug. Like, and we'll do it that way. And we'll keep it working the way it's working. But, yeah, I've, another thing that I've taken from this show is this, what at first was the scariest part of it, because for anybody that's ever thought about doing a podcast, putting your thoughts into the internet
Bro.
where they're going to live forever like this is pretty terrifying. I know Brian's been a writer his whole life, so like you've been kind of doing this not with voice and face, but you've been doing this in some level
Yeah,
for a long time.
it's
But
it's
you've also been able to hide behind the professional label that you're under, right? I know your name's on the byline, but you could
yeah.
always argue and be like, well, my editor told me I had to do this article or whatever, right? Nobody's making us do this, right? Like this is all us every single time, and you can never hide from it. So there's a lot. This is an interesting thing. And my kids, my grandkids, great grandkids, if the aliens haven't come and killed us all by then, they're going to have this to see. And much like Charlie Kirk's, kids will have
We can get recreated in AI when we're dead.
yeah. I was actually talking about that with Kirk, that he's
For
got hundreds of
for
millions of hours of
They've already
content.
done it.
for the
Have
record,
they?
I
Yeah.
forbid it. I hereby forbid anyone to recreate me with AI. I will come back and haunt you if you do. But
Well, all
anyway.
rights reserved by Movivin LLC. So there's some paperwork involved here, and that's a different conversation.
Oh, yes.
Brian,
Yes.
that's really all I have to say. What are your thoughts about 100 shows?
Gosh. Well, like I remember when you first pitched it, I was like, nah, that's stupid. We're not going to do that. No, no one wants to come listen to us talk about stuff.
Anything. But then you were really hung up on us not having credentials.
Um, well, it's not exactly that, but it's not so much credentials, but I don't know, credibility, I guess. Um, but it was it was more about I didn't want to misrepresent ourselves as if we had credentials, as if we're professionals, therefore listen to us.
Hmm.
Um, Not many should be teachers, my friends, because the teachers will be judged more harshly. Um, but and I didn't expect it that we were gonna get rich doing this or become the next Joe Rogan. I
Not
really
yet.
just did not yet. I really just did it because it's a excuse to hang out with my two of my best friends and why not? And that part hasn't disappointed. I'm glad we're doing it. I hope we do another 100 episodes. I hope it grows. I hope we grow in the kind of content we do and the depth of the content we do. I hope we grow, closer in our, as friends, also in our beliefs, but I don't have an agenda.
How
And I think,
entertaining is that?
well, we will find things to fight about, dude. The more you agree on things, I think, the more you actually can fight. Like two people one person who rejects the Bible and another person who accepts it can't really have an argument about what the Bible teaches because one doesn't care. It's like you have to it's like you have to agree with the Democrats that the Constitution is binding before you have any basis to have a fight. That makes sense. Anyway, I don't think coming to closer agreement is going to stop us being at each other. But I think that's more personality than difference in beliefs. Um but um But yeah, I've enjoyed it. I've been grateful for it. I pray for the three of us every time before we start, and pray for whoever's listening that it will that you'll know God better through what we talk about. I hope we've done that. I've been moved by some of the people I've met through both of you who listen to the podcast or watch the podcast. They consume it in some way, and you know, they tell me how much it mean. I mean, you guys were there when they said this, so you know these anecdotes. But I think that alone makes it worth it. I think if somebody out there is benefiting from this, and it's making them look to God and seek Him in Jesus Christ, then I don't dare not do this podcast if that's something that's happening from it. So,
And
but
oh, yeah, yeah.
I do want to say that I'm grateful to you both. Matt was like really kind of drove this and kind of got me to do it, despite myself. And so I gotta credit your vision there. And Dre, I've been impressed by your just your initiative and researching things and preparing and um yeah, so I appreciate you both. Love you both. Glad we're doing this.
Agape or Eros?
Love is love.
But love is love.
I think it's mostly Philadelphia.
That is the correct
with
answer.
some agape and probably a little storge too.
Maybe just a little bit of Eros.
I mean, come on.
Just
you know, I think I've had weird, pleasant surprises that that somebody would be in some sort of crisis and call me and ask for advice on something due to spirituality. Like it's one thing that I've been a mentor and a
senior
father
enlisted
and
and
right,
yeah.
like I've given advice for years. But for somebody to call me as a spiritual teacher based on what they know of me from this
Did
show.
you make them call you rabbi?
I mean, I'm black, so master. It's warlord, is
Domini?
yeah, so it's a humbling
That's
thing, and then you have to take it seriously,
right.
right? Like
It makes it to the point that the verse that Brian quoted about, the teachers are going to be judged more harshly. Like it's a serious responsibility.
it's like oh um it usually surrounds sickness or death or what would you tell your wife in this situation. And I'm like, yo, you don't want to ask me, I suck. So like, I can't get my own shit right. But it's it was kind of jarring at first, but then you just kind of embrace it and just you just, I just surrender, right? And whatever comes out comes out. uh, I think the key to that type of advice is just not think, but just let it flow.
You just started speaking
Well,
in tongues.
Pretty much.
don't I think you mean I suspect you mean don't think about yourself. Just think about the situation they're asking you about.
Sure. So, I mean, of course, you have to put thought into it to have some
Yeah.
kind of logic, right? And like make sense and form words. But I think it's kind of like, I don't know, whenever if I'm writing something or if I'm, just shut off and just go. And it just kind of comes through you. Someone else is doing the writing. Something else is doing the speaking. Um, and maybe I should practice that more on the show. Just turn my brain off.
That's what I do every show.
But yeah, well, that's why you're just better than me at this thing. So, um, and I
Listen,
and I think it's kind of cool because you just eventually when you're on camera, once a week, you just kind of get over yourself,
Yeah.
right? You're over it.
Yeah. The being on camera part never bothered me because I do video conferencing
Sure.
all the time for work. Like this is my normal. It's funny because the one downside to doing this show is I've worked all day. And I've
Yeah.
been on conference calls all day already. So I'm like, I gotta go sit in my office. Like I got like sores on my butt, right? From sitting in the chair all the day in the same spot. But yeah, I think it's the recorded part that makes it scarier for me.
Sure.
I just don't go back and watch these.
Well, I don't watch them except when I edit them, which by
Right.
the way is a whole nother thing. But like it's tough for me because like my dad will text me, "Hey, what did you mean on the last episode?" I'm like,
That's my mom.
What do you mean? What did I mean? Like, first of all, that was 2.5 weeks ago. I don't even remember what we talked about."
Right.
And he's like, "Well, you said this," and I'm like, "I did." I'm like, I don't even remember saying that.
That is so funny.
I'm not even sure I believe it now, and that was only
Right.
2.5 weeks ago.
Right.
Like,
Right. And I think that's one of my favorite parts. Like you get to like grow in real time.
yeah.
In real time. And it's funny when we say things like, "Hey, actually, I've never actually given this line of thought.
Mhm.
I'm coming at this in real time, so bear with me as I
Yeah.
say this." I
Yeah.
think we've done that several times.
Well, there's one of us that doesn't ever say that, but yeah,
Are you point?
yeah, I'm pointing
Because
at you.
I'm
You're,
above
you're-
you.
yeah, you're
He's
down
up.
on the
You're
You're
in the
screen.
down
break-
here.
In the Brady Bunch, he's up there.
I-
In the screen that matters, you're down here, and Dre's over here.
I
Because by the way, the few times that you guys have gotten out of sequence, my dad is not a fan whenever it changes. He's like, why is Dre in the wrong place? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. He's like, Dre needs to be where he belongs, and Brian needs to be where he belongs, and you need to be over there. Like, that's how
There's
it's
something
supposed to
about
be.
that I love. I love something about that. I don't know what it is, but that's
Um,
hilarious.
no, honestly, I can't think of any beliefs of mine that have changed since we've been doing this.
That tracks.
Is that I feel attacked, but
Feel seen.
You need
okay.
to feel seen, not attacked.
I think I've had to sharpen my presentation of certain things and better articulate my position. So I think my beliefs have deepened in some ways. I've had to kind of go back and like I like to do a little bit of preparation at least for a show. So I'll go back and kind of research things and make sure that like the positions that I hold are actually are not going to embarrass me when I state them. Like they're like, am I right about this? It usually checks out. I can't think of a time it didn't, but I mean, it's not that I'm like uh, I've been giving these things quite a lot of thought before we started doing this, so it's not like I'm new to these topics, and I don't think it's because I'm stubborn and closed-minded. I think it's just that I'd already done all of the thinking about them before we started. So sure that sounds arrogant to someone, but
Or to everyone. But it's
I don't know why
but
I don't know why it should.
but I don't think that arrogance, though it sounds so negative, it shouldn't.
Well, I have a high degree of confidence in the things
Right.
that I believe and my knowledge of those things. I don't think that's arrogant. I don't think that it makes me like a superior being or
Are you
it's
saying that because Dre's black?
Pretty much. I mean, especially if we clip it right there.
um yeah. Well, I lost my
I
train of
can't believe he
thought.
does a show with those racists.
He must be one
Wait
of
till I start
those
talking about Martin Luther King.
he must be one of those self-loathing black men.
I am Coon. I'm King Coon, Coon of Coons.
I disavow that language. I disavow. Um
Matt just turned into a meme like immediately.
I'm in danger.
Uncle Tom ass Coon right
All
here.
right, let's get
This
out of
guy.
here. I think it's time to get out of here.
yeah.
I'm so
On that note,
Yeah, but I think you guys you guys made a really some great points about the three of us, but I also want to point out how much it helps us that there's people that are actually watching us and listening to us and giving us feedback. Like we ask for the feedback. We're terrible at being really good at engaging. I try to engage whenever I see comments. A lot of you comment to us directly. It would be so much better if all those comments came, uh, in YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube in the comments, because the way the algorithm works, more engagement's more better for the show. That's why I ask for it. That's why we try to get you guys to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, make a comment at somebody else. Like if you've got a friend that wants to see this show, don't send them the link, at them in our comments so that it like shows up in their notifications, and then the algorithm,
right.
it helps. Dre, you started to say something earlier. One of the other things that happened out of the long conversation on Sunday is Alyssa was like, "Dad, what do I could help you guys." She goes, "I'm not trying to say I'm a big deal, but I've got a lot of TikTok followers. Do you guys have a TikTok page?" And I was like, "No." She goes, "I know you hate TikTok, but I'll build you one and start like clipping your show and like pumping it out." And I'm like, "Yeah, please."
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
Please do that." And she's like, and that was, she reached out to you because she was like, "Well, what's your, Instagram?" And I'm like, "I think I know what it is, but Dre built it. So message him and see,
Right.
what it is." So you're going to start seeing us on TikTok for those of you that do
Nice.
that do the
Nice.
TikTok. But she wants to start trying to help push out our show and try to mass market us a little bit more and get us a bigger reach.
And I know I've said this before, and I've been a liar. So, but the next 100 episodes, I want to engage. So
What are you?
no more like
Your
it's
next
like
your next 30 years?
that's right. I was just thinking that. So,
You're gonna watch
I'm
your
gonna
weight
and eat a few more salads. You know, but yeah, it's like a New Year's resolution, 100 episodes.
Yeah.
Like the next 100 needs to be just way bigger than the first 100.
I've been
And
playing with some branding. I've got some different logo ideas. I'll share them with you guys. Like I want to kind of tighten it up. I'd like to get some, we talked about merch. We had Carrie made these shirts, but this logo is just so hard because of like Aubrey made it for us and it's awesome, but it's hard to do because of all the outlines and everything. So
right.
if like just a circle with stuff inside would be easier. So I'm trying
Yeah.
to come up with something a little cleaner, maybe make some hats and stuff like that. And we'll
And
see.
then we'll have like, P1 merch. So people are like, "Oh, you're old school."
Exactly. Yeah. Like that was
Yeah,
Gen 1 stuff. That was the
yeah,
original,
just
the OG shirts. We'll do a re-release of these, at some point. And
hey, real quick, before we get out of here, I'd like to reach out to some prayer warriors out there. My step grandmother passed away last Saturday. So that's something that it's another reason why we didn't do
yep.
a show.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring that up.
Matt talked about personal stuff. Yeah, she lived with my mother. My father's also not well. So
Oh, your mom's got a
this
lot going on.
yeah, so this senior citizen lady, you know, for the most part is going to be alone in her home with a lot going on. So um a lot of things are going to shift and change for her. Um a lot of a lot of my angst over the situation, beyond a lady passing away, is this is a lady that was super private, no next of kin that's close. I have, all the financials and stuff that just kind of goes along with that. So I've kind of been thrust into this like executor role for this household, and I live an hour plus away. So if you could just give her a little love in your thoughts, anybody out there that's listening, I know that she's watching right now and she would appreciate the love. Stop crying, mom. It's fine. Oh, they're gonna do it. Um, so that's just a request from me. Uh,
Linda, we
just
will be praying for you.
so thank you. Um, you guys got anything else?
I'm good.
All right. So with that, I'm gonna say, hey, first of all, thank you for being on this ride with us. Uh, we got a lot. We got a lot of mo. Got a lot of mo. Uh, and I'll sign off by just saying, stay enlightened, stay curious, and we'll see you next week. God bless.